Hog Money, your guide to the economy of Bermuda.
Welcome back to Hug Money, and we're in our last segment now. We're talking about financial assistance and whether or not it helps or hinders able-bodied people. And we're here, and I haven't mentioned, but we're here at the DNA Creative Shop, and I feel it's a great place to be because economics and the economy, especially now, it's going to take some very creative people to get us out of trouble. So us being in a creative store, hopefully we can somehow affect that person out there who may be the person to bring the change. So let's move on here. I want to talk about this last segment. If we neglect, they say if you neglect something, it comes back to be a priority. So, financial assistance right now is trying to take care of people, and we're talking about able-bodied people. We're trying to take care of the able-bodied people to help them to grow and to benefiting, maybe get back to a normal way of living. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because when we look at the bill keeps growing for financial assistance. So it's not going down. So, Jonathan, I'm going to throw it out to you because you seem to have done a lot of research. Have you come across a place where you have seen a drastic decrease in the amount of money, especially in socialist systems, where the amount of money they're giving away in financial assistance or welfare or whatever name we choose to use? Have you found anywhere where that has drastically decreased?
Well, I'd say there hasn't been a socialist state yet. We've had various states that call themselves socialist, but they're more fascist than anything else. And you have various social democratic states like Scandinavia, which have seen inequality reduced due to the welfare system.
But would you say drastic? Would you say drastic? Jonathan, would you say drastic? Because you moved across.
There's a time lag between these things. But one thing that I want to bring up is that if you look at the post-World War II settlements, right, where you had a very strong welfare system. If you look at the data of global aggregate growth that's growth of all the countries in the world together, during the 60s and the 70s, where you had these really massive welfare systems throughout the Western world, where the war on poverty they spent almost $30 trillion US dollars and I think $92 on the war on poverty, right? What they saw was that global growth rates in 1960 was 3.5%. Global growth rates in the 1970s, where you had the major economic crisis of 73, 75, and the fiscal crisis of 78, 79, even there, with these welfare systems, you had global growth of 2.4%. Then you have the 1980s, where neoliberalism came in, started dismantling the welfare state. Global growth declined to 1.4%. Then you have in the 1990s, where neoliberalism was entrenched, welfare systems were greatly dismantled, global growth declined again to 1.1%. I don't have the data for the noughties, but there's that trajectory there. The only thing that we have seen, apart from global growth going down, we've seen real wages went up during the welfare system and then declined from the 80s on. But we've seen the share of national income of the 0.1%, the top 0.1% of the population. Throughout the welfare systems of the World War II up till 1980, the share of national income for the top 0.1% was about 2%. From 1980 on, it's increased to about 6% now in the USA, 3.5% in the UK. France has been about stable. But you've seen this. The dismantling of the welfare system wasn't about increasing growth. If anything, it slowed it. What it was changing the distribution of wealth away from the majority people and into the hands of the upper class.
But I mean, but the upper class, but it goes both ways, because if you are successful and you have made a lot of money, I mean, if I work hard and become a really great success and I'm a millionaire one day, I would say that I may not be willing to give all my money away to somebody who's not working. I can see the point there. But I can also see the point, if I'm on the other side, well, I need help. Look, I can't get a job. It's been very hard. I've tried and tried, and it's not working for me. I can understand both sides, but if I'm working hard and I'm going to work every single day, like I am now, I'm an entrepreneur. I work very hard. I work 7 days a week trying to make something happen. You know, so for me having to go to that, and somebody who's not doing that, and they're getting more and they're getting more benefits than me, and it happens. I'm just saying there is room.
More benefits than you. The upper class tend to get a lot more benefits than anyone else through corporate bailouts or anything similar to that. Now, it's important to go back to the stats here in order to defeat these myths. The majority of able-bodied under 65 people on financial assistance are only on it temporarily. Okay, there's no long-term welfare benefit means whatever. The majority of people on welfare are seniors. That's going to increase simply because we had the baby boom and they're getting older, they're becoming seniors. So that's going to increase no matter what. You have disabled people. Now we can get a lot of the disabled people off that if we increase accessibility in society. We need a transport system, public transport system, which is accessible for the blind, for the deaf, for the physically disabled. You need office spaces, workplaces, which are designed to allow them to work. You can get them off financial assistance and into work through that way. So there are ways to reduce that. But the key thing is, people are not on financial assistance because they want to be. They aren't because they need to be.
It still comes to a point of giving away money, because it's economics. If a product's not worth a certain, if it's not worth a certain price, why am I going to pay that for it? If someone's not working, if someone's work ethic is not, me as an employer, if someone's work ethic is not to a certain level, why would I want to pay them more money?
This is why I talked about global growth rates. What we find is that in more equitable societies, where you have a strong welfare system, which reduces the inequality in that society, economic productivity and growth increases. So a welfare system, a strong welfare system, benefits the upper class just as much as everyone else, because it increases the profit that they can get.
Okay.
It increases.
I think Robert has something to say.
Yeah. Can I just say,
I had a bit of a rant, so I'm okay with that.
we're actually speaking about as if there was an inexhaustible horn of plenty at the disposal of the government to hand out goodies and money and cell phones and all sorts of stuff to people who are having a tough time. The welfare states in the Western world, and I include the United States as well as UK and France and so on, are broke. If we come down specifically to Bermuda, Bermuda does not have any money. We have a debt approaching $5 billion. The bond debt is somewhere in the order of $2.5 billion, and when you look at the deficits that exist on the pension plans and also the costs that are going to arise for medical costs in the future, we are looking at a debt of $5 billion. Now, with a population, and our population, native population, Bermudian population, is somewhere around 50,000. That is $100,000 per head of the population. That's for every child, every adult, every pensioner in Bermuda. Only somewhere around 40–45% of the population is working. They're either, and they are people who are aged somewhere between 20 and 60, probably a little bit older. People who are over 65, as a general rule, are not working. I'm an exception to the rule, but generally people who are over 60 do not work. People do not work until they're in the early 20s. So there's a small group of people, which, Lamont, you fall into, who are actually supporting a huge, massive handout machine which cannot be afforded. There is no money in Bermuda. We are broke, we are bust.
Well, we don't have a massive handout machine. Hold on, let me finish.
And we have to do something to correct that situation before we even think about giving all sorts of benefits to people who may well deserve them, may well want them, but there is no money. We as a society, as an economy, we do not have any money. We are the equivalent of Greece.
Well, first of all,
I'm
not sure of this $5 million debt.
I can give it to you.
Yeah, okay, I'll take that. But certainly,
it is actually more than $5 billion, in my opinion. But anyway, go on.
On the Bloomberg site, they did a chart of debt per GDP, and I slotted Bermuda's figure in there. Japan was way at the top at something like 99,000. Bermuda was around 35, equivalent to Greece. So in terms of what we owe, is similar to.
So everywhere else is
Greece.
broke, so we don't have to worry if we're broke. You know.
Also, there's this notion about, we have, giving this massive amount of money to the poor. Again, it's just, as Jonathan said, an urban myth. You're talking about $40 million out of a $1 billion economy that is going to people on assistance. There is more money in tax credits. We gave 77 million, or on the hook for 77 million for America's Cup, which is far more than what we're paying in social assistance. So this notion that we're paying out all this money that we don't have, we seem to have priorities. We're paying for money that we're paying for items that we feel that is worth it, but $40 million for people who actually need it, somehow it's unimportant.
No, I didn't say that.
But I did say you said that.
I
never said you said that. I never said you said that.
All right, but John, before Jonathan comes in, let's let Mr. Stewart, let's let him clarify.
That.
Let's let him clarify that. Just for clarification. What were you saying?
What I'm saying is, we are in a position where we have a government budget of immense proportions which we cannot afford. It's not a case of, we want to do more things for more people. That would be all very nice if we could do it. We have a tough time actually running the Bermuda in pretty much the same way as it was, say, 10 years ago today.
Well, we do not have to tax those who can afford to pay.
The funds. We do not have the funds.
Well, we should get it from those who...
We have everybody in Bermuda owes 100,000. Now, if you stick on top of that, the large proportion of people that we've been speaking about today, who are behind on the credit card payments, their utility bills, the grocery bills, and all sorts of other things, people are individually in significant debt, and these are commercial debts, and people will have to write them off. If you can't pay Belco your power bill, eventually Belco is not going to get blood from a stone; it's going to have to write off. But Bermuda, as a society, as a government, has this huge, massive debt, and there is no money available to anybody for what they consider to be benign purposes. There is no money.
Jonathan,
we have run out of money.
Let's let Jonathan. I think his chomping at the bit here.
I just want to point out that.
I hope I'm wrong, Jonathan. Tell me I'm wrong. We've got gold all over the place.
One of the strongest welfare systems that came into existence in the 20th century was in the UK. And it came about right after 1945 in the midst of the devastation and the debt of World War II. And they were able to build this massive welfare system. They had no money then, and they built the terrific NHS, all this great system. Okay? So I don't buy that because we're in the debt, we can't do this.
So there is an inexhaustible horn of plenty.
The approach that our government is doing is an ideological commitment to austerity. Okay? We can generate revenue. We don't have any capital gains tax. We don't have any progressive income tax. We don't have any proper inheritance tax. We have some stamp duty, but it's minor.
So who's going to pay?
We have a huge amount of wealth in this society, but it is being hoarded by an upper class. We can introduce a progressive tax system which can redistribute wealth to make a more fair and equitable society.
So who are you going to tax, Jonathan?
We are spending only a fraction of our budget goes to financial assistance. It is $40 million, and off that, $36 million is going to seniors and disabled. Only $4 million is going towards able-bodied under 65.
Jonathan, who's going to pay the bill for all the plans that you have? Where's the money coming from? Santa Claus, Tooth Fairy.
So are you saying tax the rich more? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, we need a redistributive tax system.
Everybody says tax the rich, tax the rich. Who are the rich, Jonathan? Tell me who they are.
The upper class.
Tell me who they are. Who?
We find out.
Who are the rich people in Bermuda?
We can find out.
Now,
Some of the most
No, but I'm not one of the rich people.
if there are rich people,
We can find them.
If there are rich people, they ain't going to hang around to be plucked like a goose from some of you guys. It's not going to happen. They're going to leave. And people have already done
they
that.
said that about Sweden as well. And what happened? They became one of the most strongest economies in the world. And the people in Sweden didn't leave.
Well, I'm just waiting for Sweden to come up. Why don't you have a look at Greece to see the mess? Have a look at Portugal, have a look at Italy, have a look at France. They are all in a dreadful financial condition.
In all of these cases,
And as far as I can see, there is no way out. And Bermuda is in the same condition.
All right, so let's bring it back. Let's bring it back here. Let's bring it back. I was letting it run because it was exciting. Let's bring it back. So basically, it looks like I would say we're at a stalemate here. I would say we're definitely at a stalemate here. There are definitely two sides to every story. I think both sides have some validity, and you put forth a lot of statistics from one side, but Mr. Stewart just asked, about who are the rich that we tax. I mean, are we saying that the rich have so much disposable cash that they can just hand to the poor? Is that a myth? Because don't they have expenses and bills as well? I mean, is that a myth as well, that they just have money to give away?
If you looked at the payroll tax returns when former Premier Paula Cox and Finance Minister increased it from, I think it was from, I can't remember the percentage, and the
percentage increase was somewhere in the order of 30%.
I didn't know.
It went up by 2%.
Let me finish.
Yeah.
When she increased it, if you look at the payroll tax returns, she almost collected $100 million more in revenue. They balked. But these are people primarily who were over that $350,000 year annual payroll. And so they complained, and so they put it back. But almost $100 million was raised as a result of that. Additional revenue in payroll tax.
Can I just come back on that? When Paula Cox increased the payroll tax by that significant percentage, the number of jobs in Bermuda disappeared like snow in July.
The number of jobs have been disappearing in Bermuda.
One reason why we have insufficient jobs in Bermuda.
For a number of years.
All right,
and
look,
it has very little to do.
Let me cut
with
it here because
payroll
this is very exciting. And Bermuda, don't worry, we're gonna have more with these guests. I don't think we're finished talking yet. I don't think we can bring a new guest in yet. So we're gonna arrange, and we're gonna pick up on this again. We're gonna make it more pointed, but keep looking out for Hog Money on Channel 82.